I'm Kayla.
I'm Anna. This is Laughs and Legacies. Hey, welcome back to Laughs and Legacies. This time we got a time with neighbor kids. Okay, so bus stops.
What about bus stops?
Bus stops with neighbor kids. Like for bus stops for going to school. What was your... Hold on! Let me finish! Let me get through this! Okay, I started this backwards. Okay. Were there any activities that you did with the neighbor kids at bus stops waiting for the bus to go to school? Good gracious.
No, I remember just being late all the time and sprinting to the bus stop.
You were always late.
I was waiting for you guys.
Are you serious? That's crazy.
I can't remember actually, but I just remember the amount of times that I just sprinted to the bus stop and almost missing it, like I saw them put the stop sign down and I'm like, hey, please. And then we would open the door back up and I'm like, thank you.
I remember we would play wall ball, throwing the tennis ball or racquetball or whatever against the wall at, by the bus stop.
How? We were right by the street.
Yeah.
That was not safe.
It would hit the rocks and it would go into the street, but it was fun. I remember there was all those rosemary bushes right at the bus stop, and so you'd have to stay away from those because there were so many bees. I remember one of our what's it called, bus drivers. We called him Gummy Bear.
What?
Yeah, it was a big bald guy, and we just called him Gummy Bear. You don't remember Gummy Bear?
I don't. I remember ours being a girl too, so maybe they switched.
I don't know. I feel like we had so many neighbor kids growing up. There's so many kids, but now in this area I feel like there's way less kids than there were growing up.
There's so many less kids.
Because there's a ton of kids, but they stay inside because every day after school we would be outside playing capture the flag in the streets or riding our bikes or longboards or whatever.
Growing up is just not the same as it was when we were younger, which sounds silly because we're really not that old, but with all the new technology, like with the iPads and the shows and how everything's so accessible, I feel like people just stay in, and it's so easy even for me, and my kid's only 18 months old, that I'm just like, oh, well, I'll just put on a show, and I'm like, he needs to go outside. I'm not gonna raise a little kid that wants to just sit inside all the time. I don't like it. It's sad to me. We were always outside.
Yeah.
And using your imaginations to make up the most outrageous stories. Do you remember with the Nances in the backyard? We would make up just the most insane things.
We had this storyline. Every time we got together, we would pick up the story where it left off. We were clever.
And memories. How do you remember that crap?
I don't know, but we made it so fun. I would play Narnia with we would reenact Narnia with Landon, Kyle, and my brother. And
Cousins.
we'd have yeah, and we'd have staffs or whatever, just sticks, and then we'd go to war and be like, for Narnia, and then we'd pretend to walk through a wardrobe and just.
I love it. It's just not the same anymore. Maybe they are, and we just don't see it, but
Probably, yeah.
and that's a possibility. And the imagination thing going along with that, I just remember you and I would always go over to Sadie's house right across the street, and we had the Littlest Pet Shop. Whoever remembers those were the best.
We had lore for each of them, a whole backstory.
Absolutely. And she had the whole setup. My parents, our parents kind of just got the Littlest Pet Shop. We didn't get very many of all the other accessories, the houses and stuff, but she had the whole setup. So we would just leave our stuff there and go over there and pick up on these same stories. I do remember a couple times getting heated with her though, and me taking my stuff, but then she would say, no, that's hers, and I was like, I don't have as many as you. I know what are mine. I remember getting mad with her. Did you ever do that?
No. But look, if the storyline doesn't flow, then it's their fault and you gotta leave, okay? You gotta stick to the storyline. We'd always play Polly Pockets together. I remember playing in this bathroom right here, and we'd play Polly Pockets, and they'd swim.
Or Barbies.
I never played with Barbies.
I did. I would always play with Sarah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cute. One neighbor kid that always got me outside was my boy Sam across the street, and we would pretend to be bee catchers. We were little, so don't judge.
But you'd actually catch bees, which is so stupid.
I know, there were so many bees in this area. So what we would do is we would go and catch bees in this net, and then we'd put them in this little box, and then we would release them later. We'd like kind of kick the lid off the bucket and then book it and try not to get stung. And I never got stung the entire time we did it. And
that's shocking.
I'm looking back and like, we're little menaces, but we thought it was so fun to be beekeepers, bee catchers, you know? And we were catching these bees off of this like flower bush or whatever in some random neighbor's house. I did not know these neighbors. And they come home and they see us with nets on their bush. And we just like look at them like,
what's up?
And I was so embarrassed. Like, what are you guys doing? And Sam, he was like so confident. He was like, don't worry, ma'am. We're just catching the bees for you. You know, they won't be a problem.
Like he's a grown-ass adult.
Yeah, I was so embarrassed. I was like, we should leave now. I was done. I was so embarrassed. But, you know, kudos for him. I'm pretty sure he's in business now and he's really into it.
I have no idea.
I don't know, but I could totally see that happening. True beekeeper. Whatever.
I remember Ally would always tell us. So, one other thing that Ally and I, like, really connected on when we first met was soccer. We would always go and play soccer and stuff, and he told me when he was younger, he'd always play with his cousins and his brothers and whatnot. And he just remembers vividly this one time going with all the neighbor kids to play soccer, and something happened. He doesn't even remember what, but they got in like a full-blown fist fight. Like
fist fight?
No, yeah, like crazy. First off, boys in sports, they're gonna get heated, but then add soccer and Latinos, game over. You do something wrong, game over. So they just got in like full-blown fist fights, and his cousins come in and like, yeah! They all left with like black eyes and stuff. Like, I just
won? Or did they all just walk away?
I think in the end, adults came over and like split them up. But that to me is so crazy because we didn't grow up like having. I guess they were like a little bit older, not like super young, but I just have never thought about getting in a fist fight with some. Actually, that's a lie. I've thought I could totally punch this person and I'd love to do it and like figure out what that feels like. You never thought, how does it feel?
It was on my bucket list for a while because of soccer, because girls were so mean in soccer, and I was like, I just want to dick you in the face on the last like day of senior year. Like,
there was one soccer game, I was so ready. It had started, the fight started right in front of me. I was so close. You know, if you're on the far end of the field, you're like, it's gonna get stopped before I get there. But I was right there. I was so excited, and they cut it off so fast. I was like, no!
You wouldn't have jumped in. Nah, bro.
I was walking. I was ready. I was like, oh, yes.
It
was on my bucket list. I just wanted to get in a fight.
Look. Let me tell
you. And
you.
not get in trouble for it.
When situations like that happen, there's fight, flight, or freeze. I imagine I'm a fight. I'm a freeze, 100%. I just have to watch things and how they go, or I just like can't process it, you know. I'm a freeze, 1000%. And I have a perfect example of this, okay? In one of the soccer games, one of the club soccer games, my friend Zoe, who's kind of, I would say people would describe her as someone who's quiet, kind of keeps to herself.
An introvert.
And yeah, an introvert, and, you know, doesn't really pick fights or anything like that. In one of the games, this Amazon warrior looking girl squares up with Zoe, and she just is like looking down on Zoe, and she's just this tall beefy girl, and she's just like cussing her out, like
pretty small.
She's like, rah, rah, like you do blah, blah, blah. You're just saying all these things, and Zoe like stands her ground and stands up to her and just and like chest to chest with this girl, or more like stomach to chest, because that girl was an Amazon. And Zoe like stood her ground, and they were about to throw punches, and I was just standing there like watching this, and I was like, I wanted to see what happened. I mean, it processed later that maybe I should have stepped in and be like, hey guys, let's chill the freak out, like move, you know, save my friend. But I really wanted to see Zoe throw a punch, man. That
would have been amazing.
Would have been historical, man.
I would love to see her throw a punch.
I've told that story so many times because I just like cannot believe I saw my friend Zoe Ray square up, and I was just like, mad respect, bro, especially against that Amazon warrior. You would have got Crazy. Anyways.
Let's get back to our theme here.
Oh yeah, neighbor kids. That's what we were talking about. Andrew, our brother, he says there was a time we would have Jedi sword fights around the neighborhood, and the bikes we rode were our speeders.
Guys, I remember this, by the way, growing up and watching him fight with his friends. It was great.
Hold this while I tell this story.
Oh, yeah.
We had...
turning this on.
Turn it on.
Nope.
I can't believe you. We had a Jedi council, and if we got into arguments, we would take it up with the council and basically have a courtroom, but we were the Jedis. Sorry, I messed it up. But
good. I love it. True Star Wars fans, like you and all your little buddies have to have a little lightsaber fight and pretend you're on speeders and take it up with the Jedi Council. That's the best. Thank you.
Dude,
we need more of you.
What big nerds we all are. He's out there playing with the Jedi Council, and like I'm in the backyard with Kyle and Landon playing Narnia. Like, you know, we're awesome.
I don't think I was gonna say we're not nerds. Our parents raised us right. That's what I have to say about that.
You know, I'm realizing though that we never pretended to really have wands. What the heck?
Dude, I still do with Sander. I'm like,
oh shoot!
I love it. All right, our next story is from our sister-in-law, McKaylee. She said when they were younger, her brother had two very, very immature friends. And they would always come over. They would just, like, show up to the house and, like, walk in and whatnot. So one time that they came over, that they locked her and her sister out of the house. Of course, trying to get back in. They're pounding on the door. They're making all this noise. It took them a while before they ended up finally opening the door. And they walk in and they go, well, what the heck were you doing? What took you so long? Like, what was going on? They couldn't figure it out. And they're, of course, immature boys, just like, snickering. Like, they didn't tell them what they did, and they ended up leaving. Days later is when they finally found out what they did. They took her sister's bras and put them in the freezer.
That's actually hilarious.
Why? Why is that a thing? Which reminds me, oh my gosh. Sorry.
What?
I got excited, but it just, I love when memories come up.
Is this a neighbor story?
Yes, but not my friend. It was Trevor.
Okay.
Brayden would always come over.
Uh-huh.
And he always did stupid crap. They were so young, and I just disliked this friend. That was my brother's friend. I just was like, I'm gonna kill this kid. I always had to babysit them, always did crap for them, and I was like, I can't stand him. And this one time, he's in the house, and he opens the fridge, and I go, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just looking for stuff. And he takes out an egg. And he's like, I'm gonna go throw this in the street. I'm like, don't. Why are you stealing our eggs and chucking them in the street? So he, like, goes outside and is, like, trying to be all, I don't know, just, like, so dumb. It was, like, breaking eggs in the street. I was like, what the heck? And Mom came home and was, like, mad that all of our eggs were gone. And I was like, what? Because he was trying to be a little turd to me. And I was like, but these aren't even my eggs. These are Mom's.
I really did not see that story coming at all. And it went in no way, shape, or form how I thought it was going to go. It was so anticlimactic.
Sorry,
Chucking
yeah.
the eggs.
It's just really dumb. It was just a dumb thing. Because this was a dumb thing. That's why it reminded me.
This is like the epitome of boyhood right here.
He just wanted to, like, prove to me that he could break... I don't know what he was trying to do. Just being a dumb kid. Years later, I love this kid now. I think he is the funniest. He's still friends with Trevor. He they're both on missions right now, but he would come over before he left. And I was just like, I love you. Like, you are just such a cute kid.
When you see him again one day, and he, like, comes over...
He remembers this.
You should pull out 2 eggs out of the freezer and be like, I think you and I should go break these on the street right now.
You know what I should do, actually? He's serving his mission in Mexico. I don't know if it's the same. It probably is. It's like a tradition, at least in Peru, on your birthday to have eggs smashed on your head. Not sure why. It's a thing. So I should do that to him. Just reminding him.
I'll be there. With these egg prices, though...
that's
no,
true.
I'm just kidding.
Hey, you can get good prices at Sam's Club, so...
I feel like the egg prices jokes is like the airplane food jokes now. The airplane food, though, The egg prices though.
Yeah,
and then one day
true.
people are gonna be like, I don't get the egg price joke. You had to be there. Anyways, next.
Anyways, next.
Allie had a really good story. I feel like we should have a term.
little sad, but
Yeah, I feel like we should come up with a term for like what to expect for each story. I don't want to say this is a sadder one, a more somber one, or like this one's like a happier one. We'll come up with a little term for us to use in the future. But for this one, this is a time for reflection, I guess, and a little bit more somber. This is from Ale, Kayla's husband. When he was little, he had a neighbor friend that had this really cool Coke bottle full of marbles. They would get together.
And they're like big Coke bottles. Sorry, I should just like put that on there. It's not like a little regular. It's like the 2-liter glass Coke bottles. Like, they don't really sell them here, but they sell them in South America still. Just these glass bottles. They're cool.
It was really cool to these two little boys, right? And they would get together and they would play marbles with each other. Now, one day after playing, the neighbor kid, he leaves the Coke bottle of marbles with Ale. And the next day, when Ale went to go bring him back, he knocked on the door and the neighbor's little brother answered the door. That night, Ale had remembered that he heard gunshots just pop, pop, pop. And when the neighbor kid's little brother answered the door, he said that his brother had died. Ali's friend. He had gotten shot that night. And Ali went home and he had this Coke bottle with marbles and had kept them. And he, at that point, Ali didn't really understand death. But eventually he realized, and, his friend passed away. But he remembers him and his Coke bottle.
Yeah. It's just sad because he, like she said, he didn't understand what death was. Just, he had a nice friend, and all of a sudden he's gone. But it just makes you think about how you just need to, like, appreciate the people in your life and appreciate those little simple gestures of, these are his marbles and he let him use them. It's just sweet.
Yeah.
Simple gestures of kindness from people.
Yeah. I thought it was a cool story to share for that reason, and just that, like, there's all these people in our lives around us. And like you said, appreciate them, and they all play a role into who we are and who we become. And of course, no one deserves that, but it makes me really appreciate all my neighbor kids, all the people I've had in my life, and the people I played with. Yeah,
we might not be friends with those neighbor kids anymore that we grew up with, but we all remember the stories, and I feel like that created us who we are.
Yeah. Our last story is from my boy Nate. You want to tell that one?
Yeah. So he was just playing with some of his neighborhood kids, neighbors, friends. That's what I meant, not kids, friends. His friend Taylor and him had a couple friends growing up named Paul and Henry. He used to go to... Sorry, I'm just going to say it as he wrote it. I'm getting confused as I'm trying to make it up. We used to go into the orchard together and climb trees, ride bikes, play sports, you name it, all of it. There was one game that we decided we wanted to try out and I guess maybe invent back then. Essentially, it was dodgeball with soccer balls while we were on our bikes. Sounds dangerous. Taylor and Paul, the older brothers, versus me and Henry. They were only allowed to throw the balls at us if we were moving on our bikes. If we stopped, we were safe, and we would ride back and forth on the street trying to dodge them. We had been playing for a bit, and I was riding around, but stopped right before they threw the balls at me. Henry decided to make a run for it and started pedaling as hard as he could to make it across the street. Paul saw him and threw the ball, which landed right in between his tires. And he flipped over the handlebars and landed really hard on his back. He started crying and ran inside, and the game was over. But I remembered laughing so hard, even after the fact, because he slammed. Great memories.
He slammed.
That sounds so painful.
I'm just imagining.
I don't like that at all. That like hurts. Like thinking about it, like, oh, my poor back flipping over handlebars. But boys, let's be real.
I know, this was just like a whole episode of The Boys when they were kids.
Boys being boys, just little dummies. We love them.
That is kind of a hilarious story. That sounds like a fun game. I think you're onto something there, Nate. I think we should play that. But with, instead of bikes, we should do longboards.
Oh, yeah, and then you won't eat so hard.
Just get me a helmet. Let's go.
Oh, true. I love that. Anyways, guys, next week we will have a very funny one. I'm very excited about it. I'm kind of going to expose myself a lot. Meltdowns.
Yeah.
A time I had a meltdown or witnessed a meltdown. So we'll see you next week.
See ya.